We'll call the meeting to order at 5 p.m. Need to read this. The governor has declared a state of emergency to exist in California as a result of the threat of COVID-19. While the governor recently issued executive orders in 0721, which lifted certain orders and associated restrictions, there are still public health directives in place. The public safety and well-being are top priority, and you're urged to take all appropriate health safety precautions. This meeting is utilizing Zoom application for the live broadcast. For this meeting, we will be using the questions and answers functionality of the tool in order to accommodate public comment. On your device, the question and answer section of the app is located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. For those that would like to comment during the meeting, please enter your comments into the question and answers portion of the app and be sure to state the item you will be commenting on. During the public comment of each item, staff will need to read aloud the comments provided by the public for all to hear for that specific item. Can I have roll call, please?
Mayor Shaw?
Here.
Vice Mayor Kirchner?
Here.
Councilmember Boomgarden?
Here.
Councilmember Espindola?
Here.
Councilmember Harris?
Here.
All righty, thank you. Mr. Chaffin, will you please read our closed session items this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's one closed session item, agenda item A, that's conference with the real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code 54956.8. The properties are primarily two separate properties. One is a total of 1.9 acres comprised of 2 APMs, generally located south of Kensington Way and west of Clark Avenue. The second set is 3 APMs comprising of approximately 1.5 acres, generally located at 217 South Walton, 211 South Walton, and South Walton Avenue between 211 and 217 South Walton Avenue. The negotiator is Diana Langley, city manager. The negotiating parties include Habitat for Humanity, and under negotiations, price and terms of payment. Thank you.
All right. At this time, I will go ahead and let everyone know I will recuse myself from the properties on Kensington Way because my personal residence is within 1,000 feet of that property, and it's too close to the red line, as I've discussed this with Mr. Chaffin, so I will not be participating in Kensington Way. Is there any comments from the public?
No comments.
Any comments from the council? Then hearing none, we will go into closed session. Okay. I'll call to order the regular meeting of the City Council of Yuba City. I'm going to reread this. The governor has declared a state of emergency to exist in California as a result of the threat of COVID-19. While the governor issued executive order in 0721, which lifted certain orders and associated restrictions, there are still public health directives in place. The public's health and well-being are the top priority of the city of Yuba City, and you are urged to take all appropriate health and safety precautions. This meeting is utilizing the Zoom application for this live broadcast. For this meeting, we will be using the question and answers functionality of this tool in order to accommodate public comment. On your device, the questions and answers section of the app is located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. For those that would like to comment during this meeting, please enter your comment into the questions and answers portion of the app and be sure to state the item that you'll be commenting on. During the public comment of each item, staff will read aloud the comments provided by the public for all to hear for that specific item. Be timely with your questions, as once the public hearing is closed or the item has been discussed by council and voted on, no more comments will be accepted for that item. Can I have roll call, please?
Mayor Shaw?
Here.
Vice Mayor Kirchner?
Here.
Councilmember Boomgarden?
Here.
Councilmember Espindola?
Here.
Councilmember Harris?
Here.
All righty, thank you. Tonight's invocation will be given by Bob Fischetti, and our Pledge of Allegiance will be given tonight by Michael Castaneda. Did I get it?
Good enough.
Okay, so please stand.
As always, I consider it an honor to be asked to pray for the leadership of our city and for those that have to make decisions that, quite honestly, I'm glad I don't have to make. And so, Father, right now, I pray that your wisdom and counsel would come in such a way and we'd feel your presence and recognize that your hand's upon this area and it's upon those you said that you promote one, you put one in a place. And God, we just thank you for putting the people that you have put in the places they're in, and we honor them and we ask that you bless them in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Ready? Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
Thank you both. All right. Mr. Chaffin, will you report action out of closed session this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There was no reportable action taken in closed session.
Thank you. Moving on to any agenda modifications or approval of the agenda this evening. Any modifications? Okay, hearing none, the agenda stands as presented. We'll move right into the ceremonial presentation. And first up tonight, we have Lynn Sillman and his lovely wife, Jackie. If you guys will join us down here in the front, because I think you just recently retired after a long time from the Upholstery Hut. So please join us up front, Council.
He's retired. I'm not. Just saying.
This is my sugar mama.
This is my pool boy. And we didn't rehearse that, did we? No cheese ed.
When I read things. So, Lynn, I tell you, it's an honor, I think, for all five of us to be up here tonight and recognize you and honor you for all that you've done for our community. You know, when I was reading the history, I haven't known you all the time that you've been here, but to find out some of the things you've done, it's pretty awesome. But I think from all of us, we're very thankful that you were a part of this community and you've given back over a long time. I'll leave it at that to this community. And, you know, Jackie's... So with that, let me go ahead and read the proclamation. Whereas Lynn Sillman is retiring and closing the Upholstery Hut after 47 years of service to the Yuba Sutter community. The business began in 1975 in Marysville and moved to Yuba City in 1983 and has been in its current location on 2nd Street since 1986. After Lynn got out of the Navy, a family friend in Browns Valley talked him into coming to the area, which he liked so much he decided to stay. We're glad you did. Lynn needed a job and started working with a friend at an upholstery shop in Marysville, and he never looked back. He started out pulling car seats and moved to doing auto upholstery. But when the economy went back bad in the 1980s, he diversified and started taking quality furniture in to take up the slack when the auto work slowed down. Lynn has been in the National Upholstery Association for over 50 years. He made it his mission to learn new upholstery skills and techniques, as well as learning better business practices. He also belonged to the Professional Upholsterers Association of California, an organization of individuals and firms joined together to advance, support, and promote the field of upholstery. And at one time, Lynn was the only upholsterer in Yuba and Sutter counties and did all the major car dealers' work. The Upholstery Hut also only took in orders to work on quality, well-built furniture, because if it's not good furniture to begin with, it's not worth the expense to have it redone. For any business to stay open for 47 years, it must be doing something right. The Upholstery Hut, through Lynn and his wife Jackie, contributed and donated to almost every nonprofit and service organization throughout the Yuba Sutter community over the last 43 years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Dave Shaw, Mayor of the City of Yuba City, on behalf of the entire City Council of the City of Yuba City, do hereby honor Lynn Sillman and commend him for his 47-year career and many contributions to the Yuba Sutter community, and wish him much success and happiness in his well-deserved retirement. There's everything I just read.
That's very nice.
Would you like to say something?
That's probably more than anybody's ever said about me. I mean, and that's great.
Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, well, okay.
Uh-oh.
You want me? Oh, well, I appreciate this, and that's really a surprise to me. And, you know, I kind of love you guys, too. Of course, I might lie. You never know. Thanks very much. It's really an honor.
take a picture?
Oh, photo op. Uh-oh, hold on, George. Wait, George. There you go. There you go. Oh, yay. Cheesehead. Got it. Okay.
I did forget to say something.
No.
I'll never wear a cheese hat again.
You notice there was an again in there, though. All right. It's always good to honor someone that's been part of our community for such a long time. It's also sad to see the doors close because it's definitely been an icon. So we'll move on to number 3, which is a Sutter County Museum presentation and introduction of the executive director, Molly Bloom, who is the Sutter County Museum director and curator. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for having me. So I'm excited to be here, so I figured I would just introduce myself, talk a little bit about what's been going on at the museum, as well as some new things that are coming up moving forward. So for those of you who might not know, the mission of the Sutter County Museum is to share local stories to strengthen community bonds, to inspire celebration of our diverse cultural heritage, and to demonstrate how understanding the past prepares us for the future. And so I joined the museum last December, so I've worked in museums for about the past 10 years. I'm originally from Massachusetts, but directly prior to this, I worked at the University of Nebraska at their Natural History Museum. But my academic background is in archaeology, so I'm very excited to be back working with history and material culture and helping to share the stories of Sutter County with the community. And just to give a little bit of information about the organizational structure of the museum. So we are a department of Sutter County, and so Sutter County covers things like staff salaries and benefits, utilities, and overhead. But we also have a nonprofit board, our Community Memorial Museum Association. And so the association covers things like our exhibits, our educational programming, our gift shop, marketing, and then we also have our artisan community garden, which is a part of the association. And so all funds raised through gift shop, public programs, and donations go directly to our 501c3 nonprofit museum association to help support those operations of the museum. And so if it's been a little bit, since you visited us, we did some major renovations in 2019, resulting in new flooring and some updated exhibits. So our museum covers a lot of different topics in our local history, from the Sutter Buttes to the Nisenan local Native American tribe, the history of agriculture, and John Sutter. And then we also have a large multicultural gallery and some displays on the early days of Yuba Sutter. And so although we are the Sutter County Museum, we do also cover our region's history and bring in temporary exhibits as well. So we do cover a lot of history from Yuba County as well, because we can't really tell the history of Sutter County without including Yuba County. And so the other things that make us a museum, to accomplish our mission, we do it through our exhibits, our collections. And so we also, I think in 2018 or 2019, we upgraded our collection storage to high-density mobile shelving through a large grant. And so we were able to protect the 21,000 objects and about 8,000 photos in our collection a bit better. And so to serve our mission, we have our exhibits, our collection, and our educational programs. And so we do a variety of adult programs and children's programs. We've been a bit on a hiatus for the last couple of years through the pandemic, but We've had some programs still taking place for adults. We do things like lectures, gallery talks, book presentations, and readings by local artists, sometimes including book signings. And then we also have children's programs such as a night at the museum, movie and pizza program for kids, a holiday program annually, and then also sometimes spring break programs and classes, as well as a lot of programs that take place outdoors in our community garden. And so we're looking forward to getting back to hosting more programs now that we're kind of coming out of the pandemic a little bit. And another thing that's newer in the past couple of years is that we've taken over the operations of the Edel Hall rental facility, which we run as a service to the county. So the prices are very reasonable because it is a service for the community. And so people rent out our facility for all kinds of events, from weddings, quinceañeras, birthdays, baby showers, to celebrations of life, memorial services, meetings, public events, blood drives, and more. So this is something that is available, and it is run through the museum and does go to help support us through the county side. And right now we have a very special temporary exhibit on display at the museum. It's called Disrupted Life, a replica barrack from the Tule Lake internment camp. And so this is an example of one of those exhibits that we have to help talk more about different aspects of history in our community. And so it explores the themes of Japanese internment during World War II, as well as anti-immigration sentiments that led to the forced relocation of Japanese Americans during the war. And so it features a lot of great objects, both from our collection and from the community, that speak to the direct impact of Japanese internment on our local community here in Yuba City and Sutter County as a whole. And I should mention that's on display until May 1st. So we do have it for another couple months. The museum also has free admission. So we're open on Tuesdays to Fridays from 1 to 5 p.m. and Saturdays and Sundays 12 to 4. So it's very easy to visit us. We're right around the corner on Butte House Road, and we're free. So definitely come by and check out this exhibit. And we also have several partners we've worked with to help support the exhibit. So Yuba Sutter Arts and Culture through a grant from the California State Library Association. The Marysville Japanese American Citizens League has been invaluable in providing sources and contacts for helping to make sure that we're really representing our local stories here in this exhibit. And then the barrack was built for a display at the Smith Museum of Anthropology at Cal State Chico. And so they were able to provide the barrack and a lot of the interpretive materials to go along with the exhibit as well. And so although we were somewhat disrupted and the museum also did not have a director for almost 6 months before I came on, we did have several achievements for the past fiscal year. So we did hire a new fundraising position, a development officer who is split 50-50 between the Sutter County Library and the Sutter County Museum to help support fundraising efforts, grants, and all sorts of community engagement. We continue to offer some of the temporary exhibitions and programs over the course of the past year, and continue to inventory our artifacts in our collection so that we can make sure that we're properly cataloging and storing everything to make room for new objects to be stored safely and protected within the museum. And then that goes along with making progress in catching up on a backload of accessions work that has been going on for years, because this will allow us to better share the stories through making sure that we have collections that accurately represent the history of Sutter County. And then we also completed a master plan, which will help to guide our redevelopment of permanent exhibits and developing the future of the museum by identifying some key themes that we want to make sure are carried throughout our exhibit galleries. And so that's something that I'm excited to share. We'll be working on moving forward and starting to implement some aspects of our master plan. And we've been seeking out some funding to start supporting bringing some of those new ideas and new exhibits and new themes to carry through our permanent collection and exhibits. And then, so right now, as I mentioned, we have the Disrupted Life exhibit. Just wanted to give you a little preview of what's coming up later this year. We have an exhibit called The Newest Americans, and it's a temporary exhibit that captures experiences of immigrants from 23 countries of origin and prompts the discussion on America's legacy as a nation of immigrants and the future of the American dream. And so this will be on display from mid-May until early September. And then we're also going to have another show with photos and objects called Beauty and the Beast, California Wildflowers and Climate Change. And so it includes award-winning photography from 2 photographers who've worked to capture California's vanishing wildflowers and bring awareness to different aspects of wildflowers throughout our state, including different natural habitats and ecoregions, and exploring the impacts of the climate on these wildflowers. And then one other thing I'm excited to share is that we're also starting to promote our business memberships. So in the past, we have had individual memberships as a great way to support the museum as individuals and as families, but we're also introducing opportunities to partner with us as a business. And so I won't go through all the benefits and bore you, but if you're interested in the benefits of the membership, the highlights are that it includes things such as issues of our bulletin magazine that share stories about local history 3 to 4 times a year, which is a great publication that we put out to show sort of the continuing research that's being done about the history of our county and our region. And then it also includes advertisements for your business in the bulletin, and listings on our website, and other sorts of sponsorship opportunities. So those start at $250, and so if you're interested for your business, welcome to talk to me or give us a call or check out our website to learn more. But these are some of the fun new things that are happening now and will be happening moving forward. So thank you all for giving me some time today to introduce myself and talk a little more about the museum.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for everything that the museum does over there. It's a great asset to our community. Did the council have any questions? Ever? Oh, we have one.
Well, no questions. You don't have to come back up. I just wanted to thank you for your time. It's very good to see you again. It's a very well put together presentation. And anything that you can do or even I can do to get the word out to get some visitors over there, I think it'd be great. It's all but a good thing you have going over there. So thank you very much. And welcome to our community.
Through the mayor? Yes. And once again, welcome to our community. As someone who's participated in your events, you've got some top-notch board members and the people that worked with you over there, and I am very interested in the history on both sides of our community, the river. And thank you for adding to our quality of life. So thank you for that.
All right. Hearing none. All right. Thanks again. We'll move on to agenda item 4. This is appearance of interested citizens. You are welcome and encouraged to participate in this meeting. Public comment is taken on items listed on the agenda when they are called. Public comment on items not listed on the agenda will be considered at this time. Comments on controversial items may be limited, and large groups are encouraged to select representatives to express the opinions of the group. Members of the public will have 3 minutes to speak. Written requests received at least 24 hours prior to the meeting will be allotted 5 minutes to comment. Tonight, before we check to see if we have any comments from the floor, we do have Ms. Jackie Sillman and Laura Nicholson. If they would come forward, they wanted to use this time to make a presentation. George, if we could get the microphone to them, please.
We have the 36th Athena, Diana Langley, come down. She is our 36th Athena International. Okay, I'm going to get started. Because Diana does not like this. I want everybody to know she does not like this, so we had to do it, sorry. So for the audience and those at home, the Athena International Leadership Award is presented by Chambers of Commerce, women's organizations, universities to women who demonstrate the qualities embodied in the Athena leadership model. and who have achieved the highest level of professional excellence. Diana Langley, our 2022 Athena, is committed to the Yuba Sutter community. It's evident in everything she touches. A fellow 2007 LEAD Yuba Sutter graduate, her decisions are always based on what is the current and future of Yuba City. She leads with integrity and inspires everyone who works with her to put that best foot forward for her community every day. And don't be shocked, but I heard from many of the employees here about Diana Langley as we wrote this tonight. Her contributions to the community, can't do two things at once.
You can roll back this.
I know. Hold on. Gotta lick my fingers. Oh, don't tell them I'm licking my fingers. All right. So with her engineering background can be felt in the roads we drive on and the water we drink. Her level head, calm demeanor, and ability to see the big picture make her a key contributor in many organizations and to a variety of important meetings through the city. She continues to mentor women, including her daughter, Madison, who was able to be at the Day for Women, which was an honor along with your mother. So in those roles, her daughter will be, I have a feeling, going high up the ladder as well. So in her service to the residents of Yuba City, now she is leading us as the city manager. The community has thrived under her steady leadership. The past Athenas are honored that you have joined us as the 36th Athena. Yay.
So on that note, on behalf of Assemblyman Gallagher and Senator Nielsen, it is always an honor and a privilege to be able to present this joint certificate of recognition. I am especially honored having been involved with the Athena program. It's a great legacy to the contributions that women make to our communities, and now you are officially one of them. I would also like to say that as I look around this room and having spent a fair amount of time here, to look up and see you there, and to know that not just women, but when young women and girls and boys come in and see you there, that's an inspiration for their futures. And for that, I thank you and I congratulate you.
I just want to say thank you very much. It was such an honor to be selected, and it's such an honor to be part of that Athena group. And it's also very humbling because there are so many people in this community that contribute so much, and to be selected as the one, it's very difficult to comprehend. It's very difficult to accept, and I'm very thankful. And you know, we mentioned my daughter Madison, who is taking a physics test tonight. You know, my ultimate goal for her is to supersede me, and so that's really what I strive for. And I love to see young women who grow up through the STEM programs and move into more technical roles. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. No, you look beautiful. You look orange like you're jet.
All right, is there any more comments on things that are not on the agenda that anyone would like to make tonight? Any more comments for items not on the agenda? George, is there any more comments online?
No comments.
All right, then we will continue to move on to the consent calendar. All matters listed under consent calendar are considered to be routine and can be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the council will vote on the motion unless members of the city council, staff, or public request specific items to be discussed or removed from the consent calendar for individual action. Would anyone from the public like to speak on the consent items tonight? Anyone from the public? Mr. Cardoza, if you'll go to the podium, state your name, address, and what you'd like to speak on.
Manny Cardoza, Yuba City resident. This is concerning item number 8, the naming of the Harder Parkway Park. I was already told it was too late, so I'm just going to do a little bit of venting. Anyway, Vice Mayor, you're going to be excused from this one because you weren't part of the council 4 years ago. This was something that the council did 4 years ago. 4 years ago, at that time, it was Mayor Harris made a nice speech at Mr. Barkhouse's service and made a comment that we were going to name a park after him. And myself and the remaining 3 council members up here in front, Mayor, we all agreed upon it and said, yes, that'd be a great thing to do, name a park after Mr. Barkhouse, after everything he's done for our community. And now this would be the perfect time to do this. It's been 4 years. You can't change a park's name. It's very difficult to change a park's name. We have a new park without a name on it, and this would have been the time to name it after Mr. Barkhouse. Now, I have nothing against D.R. Baines. He's a wonderful man. He's done wonderful things for our community as much as Mr. Barkhouse has. But Mr. Barkhouse has done great things for the city of Yuba City. And he's done many things. I'm just going to mention one because it's standing between us and Marysville. It's that big, beautiful 4-lane bridge that we cross every day, most time. And I'm just venting. I just think that this would have been the right time to name the park after Bob Barkhouse. And when will we be naming a park after him? Thank you.
All righty, thank you. Any other comments from the public? Any other comments from the public? Oh, podium here, please, and state your name, address, and...
Hi, my name's Megan Baines.
Make sure you hit the button. Oh, sorry.
Hi, I was probably loud enough without it. But my name is Megan Baines. As you can probably tell, I am the granddaughter of Didar Singh Baines, and I truly don't think that, I obviously don't know Mr. Barkhouse, and I'm sure he's done amazing things for this community, but I believe everything that my grandfather has done for this community should be recognized, and he has done, so much. Forgive me if I stumble on some words. I really wasn't prepared to talk today, but just kind of highlighting some of the things that he's done. He's brought in so much to the city of Yuba City that was mentioned that he didn't, or kind of in a roundabout way has. But the original Walmart to the Super Walmart, Sam's Club, Lowe's, the whole development in that general area was done by Didar Singh Baines, and the city has been collecting tax revenue and all sorts of money from that original development that happened years and years ago. So, he has done stuff a lot directly for the city, as well as being the person that started the Sikh parade. We all know the Nagar Kirtan. That generates so much money every year, brings hundreds of thousands of people into this community every year. More than that, I just think that he has been a really significant symbol of what the American dream is. And living in this community, growing up here, I aspire to see people that come into our community and get the chance that he got. And I think whenever you say Didar Singh Baines and you think of the American dream, you can almost say them synonymously. I think for that reason, also given the fact that the location of the park will be on land that he will be donating is, quite monumental and significant in that sense as well. So thank you for my time. I don't really know what else to say.
All right, any more comments from the public? Please go to the podium.
Lee Jones. I just want to piggyback on what she said. I have a little bit of history of the Baines family, and what she said is absolutely true, their American dream. We had a film crew in a few months ago. The film is called From the Land of Milk and Honey, and they were in Yuba City to honor the Baines family, Phil the Baines family, tell the story. It will end up one day as in an art gallery, in a museum, and as a film. The Baines family, I know for decades and decades. I've only been here 50-some years, but they truly had a lot in the development of the city of Yuba City in a very positive manner.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Any other comments from the public? Okay. George, do we have any online?
No comments.
All right. Then I will bring it back to the council for comments or action.
Through the mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve consent calendar agenda items 5 through 9.
I have a motion by the vice mayor. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Councilmember Baumgarten. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. And that will take us to agenda item 10. Okay, agenda item 10 is the Yuba Sutter Tourism Improvement District Renewal. This is a public hearing. And with that, it will be presented tonight by Mr. Ben Moody, who's our Public Works and Development Services Director. Mr. Moody, we'll start with you, and you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. So the item before you tonight is the, in regards to the Yuba Sutter Tourism Improvement District Renewal. And so this is the third step in a three-part process that leads up to a public hearing for a protest hearing. And so with that, there's some legalities. So there was petitions. There's a three-step process, for a little recap, that you had to have so many petitions. You had to have more than 50% of the petitions of the jurisdictions to move forward. And then we've had a second meeting to have a public comment period to provide input. And with that meeting, there was public input that basically there was some change in thought. So we received some input from local hotels that they've decided to change their vote and provide additional protest measures. And so with that, since that second meeting, we've received 11 protests, written protests in writing from owners or representative general managers of the hotel that represent the ownership that have voted no. And so with that, that throws the protest over the 50% threshold to 54%. And so tonight, the action is to open the public hearing and then give an opportunity for the public to discuss and then either rescind their protest or add to the protest. And then after the close of the protest hearing, then direction can be made. If a valid protest has been made, more than 50%, then no action can be made by the council and the renewal dies. And so it's state law that basically the renewal would then be finalized and it could not come back for up to 1 year. And so with that, the YSLA board, members of the board, some hotels are here. I see many familiar faces that have worked diligently on this with Jacob Young and the Hard Rock and various hotel groups that are here to help answer questions and work through those processes going forward. And then also there's, it looks like from the Travel Lodge and from also some of the groups that may have protested for input. And so just to add from the last meeting, there was some input based from questions from the council regarding support. And with this being a multi-agency with Marysville, Yuba County, Sutter County, Yuba City, and as to why the city was the lead, it really came down to the city being the lead with us having that 65% majority of the funds is where the hotel were coming from, and the original voice to help be a participant and being an active participant in that. And so with that, I know Jacob and his team has worked hard to reach out to Yuba County, Sutter County, and then the Yuba Sutter Chamber of Commerce, and also the Hard Rock, who is a sovereign nation and is a major player in Yuba County and a volunteer participant in the Yuba Sutter Lodging Association. But with their status as a tribe, they're not an active participant in this process. But so really with that, I turn it over to Jacob and his group to open the public hearing on the item, and then based on the close, we'll go through next steps.
Thank you, Mr. Moody. Does Jacob have a presentation before we open to the public hearing?
Yeah, I mean, he could go ahead and do that before the public hearing.
Okay, let's go ahead and have the presentation then, please, Jacob.
Thank you, Mayor Shaw, I had the same question. I wasn't sure which came first in this process, so thank you for clarifying that. And just to get started here, so I just wanted to give you, again, the council a little bit of the background. I know we've had our annual reports that we've submitted that goes over some of that. I know some questions have been answered since the February meeting that we had till now. So to be in consideration of time, I'll go over some of that, but not go too elaborative into that unless we have any additional questions as well. So some of the basic background, the Yuba City Tourism Improvement District was formed in 2017, includes, as Ben said, the cities of Yuba City and Marysville, Live Oak and Wheatland, as well as the unincorporated areas of Yuba and Sutter counties. As you said, we did not seek after the letters of support from Live Oak and Wheatland because they do not have current active lodgers in those jurisdictions. Yuba City was chosen as the lead jurisdiction due to having the most hotels and the percentage of that makeup, and they contribute the highest amount into the TOT as well as the Tourism Business Improvement District revenues. The City of Yuba City did loan the Chamber of Commerce at the time the initial startup funding to get the formation process started. After the YSLA was formed and the income actually started coming in from those assessments, that loan was repaid in that first year of activity going back. So the city investment was that initial startup funding, which was then repaid back to the city. And so as far as going forward with the renewal parameters, so we had a 5-year initial term for the Yuba City Lodging Association and the Tourism Improvement District. And so the renewal was to go seeking for a 10-year renewal on that. And again, to continue to provide the marketing and sales programs, sports and outdoor recreation programs, and tourism and visitor services programs, which the intent of that is to increase demand for overnight tourism and therefore the mantra of more heads and beds. To continue to grow the economic vitality of our region. So with that, there's a self-assessed 2% additional tax on the room night to the guests themselves. So the city receives their 10% tax that goes to the jurisdictional fund, and then the 2% is collected by the jurisdiction but passed on to the YSLA to manage that effort. The estimated annual budget going forward was $400,000 annually for the next 10 years. That was an increase from the initial $250,000 budget, as we've seen over the last 5 years through the ebbs and flows of COVID, the pandemic, but with other lodgers coming into play, including also Hard Rock, we have seen an additional budget increase as we actually saw those initiatives taking place. And so the makeup of the board, the Yuba City Lodging Association would continue to serve as the owners association and include a minimum of 4 assessed business owners or their representatives, 1 government representative from the city of Yuba City, which has been served by currently Ben Moody is acting as that board member on our board, as well as 1 government representative from the other jurisdictions, which is currently being served by Brenda Stranix at the Economic Development Corporation. And so as we move on to our next steps, how we got to where we are today, the Tourism Improvement District renewal started with hotel outreach and consensus building, document preparation through our partners at Civitas, which helped with our legal counsel and development of this renewal. Then we did a hotel petition drive, which required us to get 50 plus 1% of the industry to sign petitions in support of this renewal. And then we moved forward on the tail end to get the city approval process, which is a 3-step process. The initial one was done on January 18th City Council meeting to have the resolution of intention to renew the district. And then at the February 15th, we had the public meeting to allow any public testimony with no action from council. And then that leads us to tonight for the public hearing and resolution of the formation to renew the district. As we are aware, at the February City Council meeting, we did have a number of the lodgers not only step up in opposition, but some also rescinding the letters of support that they initially signed during that petition drive and adjusting their stance to not only rescind their support of, but also now adjusting to be in opposition of. And that is how we've gotten to this swing of starting the process with over 50% of the lodging industry being in support of, to where today, going into this meeting, we were at 54% of the industry in opposition. That does not include Hard Rock into the makeup of our region because they are in that sovereign nation status. they legally cannot be included because they have an exempt status to that tax. They do self-assess themselves to be included in the YSLA. They have a board member, Megan McCarthy, who is the director of their hotel operation there, is acting as a board member on the YSLA, and they self-assess themselves that 2% tax voluntarily to be included in that effort. She's not able to do public comment to speak with her, but we do have a letter of support, and she said that we do have approval to read that. I'll do that here momentarily, but I'll just talk about the updates from February's meeting, because I know there were some directives given by City Council coming into tonight's meeting, so I want to go over those updates, and then I'll read part of that letter just so their voice can be at this table of this conversation as well. If they were included in the makeup of the percentages, it would put us well in the region and being in support of this renewal, because again, we're at that tipping point of about a 50-50 swing either direction. But as it stands, they cannot be included in that. But I do want their voice to be heard tonight. So anyways, updates from the February 15th meeting. So last month, as we concluded that meeting going forward, the Yuba City Lodging Association has conducted outreach to those hotels that were in opposition. It's led to really fruitful conversations. It's bittersweet to be here in a moment where we're currently in a majority opposition. It's bitter because obviously being in that position is not fun to be in. However, it has been sweet because we have had fruitful conversations with a number of those lodgers to get their feedback and insights into why they are opposed. And that has been, really a nice way to get their feedback in this. Again, it was unfortunate that due to the sensitivity of timing to get any of that feedback implemented, to have them feel supportive of the effort was a little bit of going to weeks of movement with that was a difficult timing with that. And something that we obviously would have wished over the 5 years we could have gotten more involvement in that time period. However, it's still great to have that moving forward because we will still have activity going forward. So to have that insight so that hopefully when we come forward with a future renewal, we'll be able to have those feedbacks at play to implement into a future plan there. Some of the things we did, some of the lodgers felt hesitant jumping into from a 5-year to a 10-year renewal. So we did offer terms to reduce our renewal from 10 years down to 5 years to accommodate that so they didn't feel locked into a 10-year period. And so we did offer that as a contingency to lower the district year from 10 to 5. We did reach out and obtain letters from the jurisdictions as requested. So I have a letter from the Yuba County Supervisor, Yuba County Administrator, as well as the Sutter County Administrator. I talked with City Manager Jim Shad through email correspondence. He just was not at the table at the time when they initially formed this. And so again, just due to the time to orientate himself, he was not able to have enough time to submit a letter of support or opposition. He's still neutral because he doesn't know enough to make a decision on that at this time. But we did have correspondence with him as well. And then as Ben had mentioned, we do have letters from Hard Rock Casino Hotel supporting the 10 years. And as I mentioned, while they cannot be legally included, I did just want to quickly read a part of the letter that Megan had prepared, just so we have their insights. Yes, sir.
Jacob, the letter that you would read would be under public comment, not during your presentation.
And would I be able to speak on that? Because Hard Rock can't have a representative speak from that, like from themselves?
You would be speaking from you, but any types of support or stuff needs to be during the public hearing, not during your presentation.
Yes, sir, I understand. I just want to make sure they had their voice at the table so we didn't exclude them in this process. So I appreciate that. And so as we had mentioned, we're currently at a majority protest as of today. And as the 94 law states, that a written protest may be withdrawn in writing anytime before the conclusion of the public hearing process. So I know as we conclude this presentation, we'll then have public comment. As Ben said, if we do not get below that 50% threshold in opposition, then it's a majority protest to rescind this renewal, and then we would have to wait at least a year before coming back before council to continue this process of renewal if the industry chooses to do so. And so options moving forward. One, there was a jurisdiction that entirely, their lodgers opposed this. That would be the city of Marysville. So technically, as we were talking to the legal counsel, Marysville could be excluded from the tourism improvement district because the entire industry in that jurisdiction wrote letters of opposition. So that is technically an option that would reduce the letters of protest down to less than 50% and would allow council to vote on this item regardless of what the public comment decisions brings. And then obviously if no change was made to the district, the majority protest remains, and then the YSLA would have to wait 1 more year before coming before to renew this effort if chosen to do so. With that, I'll open up to any questions and answers, unless if you want us to go to public comment there.
Okay. At this point in time, we will start working towards a public hearing. So Q&A will come up during the public hearing.
Sir.
Okay. Mr. Moody, if I could have you back to the podium. Before we open the public hearing, I just do want to verify with you, as of the start of the meeting tonight, what is the status of our protest? Do we have a valid protest or not?
So currently we've received 11 written protests from the American Best Value Inn, from Budget Inn, Motel 6, Townhouse Hotel, all from Marysville, Bonanza Inn from Yuba City, Days Inn from Yuba City, Nice Inn from Yuba City, the Sutter Hotel Best Western in Yuba City, the Travel Lodge, and then we have the Peach City Inn and Rio Inn in Yuba County. And so all of those have written statements in compliance with the petition, and that is a valid protest hearing at exceeding 50% at 54%.
All right, thank you, Mr. Moody. Mr. Chaffin, if you could help us here. There has been, at the last hearing, there was a lot of questions. What are the council's option at this? I know that I've gone through the material as well as my colleagues. I think I have a good understanding of what our options are, but could you walk us through what our role and what our options are tonight before we open the public hearing? And we're going to go through everything, but I want to know where we're at tonight as we begin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council's role is basically that of a facilitator under state law. What that means is if there is a majority protest existing at the time of the close of the public hearing, in other words, somebody has not withdrawn their protest in writing, then there has been, you would have to declare a majority protest, and state law restricts further action by the council. Your hands are basically tied in that regard. So what that would mean is the existing district, which had a term of 5 years, will be expiring very shortly of its own terms, and there is a process for how that expiration is set out, and that'll occur automatically without any further action. So unless a protest is withdrawn by the end of the close of the public hearing, the council is required to just say that there is acknowledged there's been a majority protest and then go to the next agenda item without taking any further action.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Chaffin. With that, we will open the public hearing on the Yuba Sutter Tourism Improvement District Renewal is now open. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the council on this issue, please provide your statement via public comment. State your name and address for the record. And agenda item 10, I'm just taking the cards as they were given to me. First up, I have Marnie Sanders.
Good evening, Mayor and council members, and my name is Marnie Sanders. I'm the CEO of the Yuba Sutter Chamber of Commerce, which is located over at 1300 Franklin Road. And it is my understanding with protests being at 54%, your hands are basically tied, but I would like to make a statement on behalf of the Yuba Sutter Chamber of Commerce. I just want to express our support of the Tourism Improvement District and the 2% tax, which I understand is a tax that is placed on guests that pay, and it really is a norm in many communities. And that revenue then is used to fund the Yuba Sutter Lodging Association. Some of us know it to be named Visit Yuba Sutter. And really, I mean, it's a fraction of a cost to a guest, but it means a great deal to our community. So while I know that, we're sitting here with all this opposition, but it really is my hope that the Yuba Sutter Lodging Association Board and others will work together, and I'm hearing that tonight, to ensure a solid relationship into the future. From the Chamber's vantage point, the YSLA has been actively engaged in attracting tourism to our community, promoting Yuba Sutter as a destination.
You know, attracting tourism has been a long-term effort, but an effort that I hope that we don't give up on as a community. It's good for business and it's good for our community. The YSLA has made great strides over the past several years. They have built a strong marketing and outreach plan and have created a beautiful visitors guide, robust website, and lots of great destination ideas for our trip planners. In addition to their specific work, they have also supported our local events that attract visitors, including the Swan Festival, the Peach Festival, and Bike Around the Buttes. The Chamber is especially grateful for the investment that they have made to support the creation of the film Yuba Sutter, which we just started embarking on that this year. YSLA, they've recognized that this investment will promote tourism and visibility for the region, but more importantly, it's going to provide huge opportunities for economic development and job creation for our region. So without the Yuba Sutter Lodging Association's presence as a, what happens to tourism? Is it going to go away entirely? It sounds like they're still going to be working on it. The funding of the more traditional media, online media, website development and staffing could potentially go away. And sadly, Film Yuba Sutter is at risk of losing continued funding, and we're just getting started. The Yuba Sutter region has a treasure trove of destinations for all kinds of big and small adventures, not to mention some spectacular businesses here that benefit from having visitors. So I'm hopeful that Visit Yuba Sutter, the Yuba Sutter Lodging Association, sticks around. It's a great community asset that presents us many wonderful opportunities. So thank you.
Thank you, Marnie. Up next, I have Charles Sharp.
Good evening, Charles Sharp. I'm from Oregon House. I own Frenchtown Inn in the foothills of Yuba County. I'm also on the board of the Lodging Association. Since 2017, the YSLA has spent $170,000 in the Yuba Sutter area to sponsor such events as the Swans Festival, golf tournaments, Marysville Christmas Parade, the Peach Festival, and to support a Yuba Sutter Film Commission. But you all know this. Over a year ago, the association began the process of renewing the TBID. Everybody that was part of the association was informed about what was happening. They could have attended board meetings, even become part of the board, but they did not do this. Instead, at the last minute, a grand walkout is staged, coming up with this red herring that they get no benefit from this tax. Rubbish. I cannot imagine an extra $2 or $3 per room is going to make any difference for a tax that is passed on to the guest anyway. So why are they doing this? Are they just grumpy that the COVID-19 restrictions have so adversely affected the hospitality business? Is it that they just want to complain about how difficult things have been and the Lodging Association is a convenient scapegoat? Something like this is going on. It's more, these are not public comment, these are internal discussions because these lodging associations are part of the Yuba Sutter Lodging Association. They're not public in that sense. They're internal, they're part of the organization. But they choose this last minute protest and they benefit from this tax with the economics and everything. Anyway, most of the people that stay in my inn come through Airbnb. I honestly do not know of anyone that found out about the inn from the digital marketing ads or the Visit Yuba Sutter website. So I should be leading this protest. But I'm not grumpy, and I can see the overall value of the Lodging Association that it provides to the area. It's good for the overall economy, and it's good for the people that are now complaining. So I guess with that, I'll say thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. Next, we have Lee Jones.
Good evening, Lee Jones, Harkey House. Hey, it's not fun to lose. I don't like to lose. Laura, it's great you're here tonight. We've been working on tourism since we met at the Chamber back in 2003, 2004. She gets tourism. A lot of people in this room get tourism. Our board gets tourism. And we diligently got the website going, got the digital ads going, got the visitor's guide up, hand carried them, delivered them to every motel in Yuba City 5 years ago. Went to Best Western, welcomed her, invited her to attend a board meeting, called her twice already, come back to a board meeting. She'd be a great board member. And nothing happened. So we were so busy marketing tourism, we didn't reach out. We failed to reach out to other lodgers. And I apologize for that. We have work to do. We're still in the infancy. We haven't given up. We have remarkable things to offer guests. Our Harkey guests come mostly from Bay Area. We're a Pacific Flyway. They hike the buttes and they come year after year after year. When I reached out to a lodger, one of the things was not us, it was chickens. She is losing business. I have had 4 guests come in who will no longer go to one of our motels because the chickens keep them up all night. Some of the issues were not us, some of them are the chickens, and you've got to take a look at that. I don't know. But meanwhile, I'm getting more guests, but I would rather share those guests with other good motels here. But we've got work to do, and I was writing up a ticket this morning for, we're $210 a night in Yuba City. The cottage is $250 a night, included breakfast. And that little 2% was $5, $4. And no one here pays it. It's the visitors that come and stay in our motels and bed and breakfast that pay it. And the money's going to go away. So we're throwing out the baby with the bathwater. It's too bad. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Lee. Any other comments from the public? Jacob, now is your time if you'd like to read that.
Yes, sir, and as I said, I just wanted to make sure we had a chance to voice Hard Rock's voice at this table from the letter. So I'll just recite the letter really quick, just so we have that here. And so it says, to whom we may concern, we are writing to you in support of the Yuba City Lodging Association's renewal of the Tourism Improvement District and the 2% TBID assessment tax for an additional 10-year term through 2032. It has come to our attention that there is some hesitation from a group of lodgers which has put this renewal at risk. Hard Rock Hotel and Casino Sacramento at Flower Mountain is committed to the Yuba City Lodging Association and all its efforts to support bringing in more tourism into our communities. Hard Rock Hotel and Casino Sacramento at Fire Mountain voluntarily pays into the TBID because of its commitment to be used to benefit businesses and residents in the community and surrounding regions. We believe in the promotion and economic growth for everyone in the Yuba and Sutter counties, and the YSLA has made many strides over the years that continue to promote investment and tourism evolution for local businesses and not just lodging. I currently act as a member of the board of directors for the Yuba City Lodging Association for the year and will continue to be actively involved in developing the association, energizing its strategies to better the business environment, and foster the lodging and overall economic growth for our community. And so I'll leave that there with that letter.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from the public at the public hearing? Any other comments?
Through the mayor, if there are no more public comments, could you ask if there is a final call for anyone who would like to change their vote? Because
I will in just a moment, Mr. Chaffin. Thank you. Calling the third time under, I use Robert's rules a lot, so the third time. Any other comments from the floor? Any comments from online?
No comments.
All right, then with that, to exactly where we need to be, is there anyone that would like to change their vote from a no to a yes in the room, online? Anyone would like to change their vote? Anyone that would like to change their vote? Hearing none. Mr. Moody, do we still have a valid protest?
With the public hearing closed, yes, we do.
All right. With that, then I will move to hearing no further comment on the issue. I'm closing the public hearing and bringing the matter back to council. Is there any comments from the council? Any comments from the council? All right. With that, we have to act in accordance with a valid protest. So there would be no action taken on this at this time. On a separate note, I would like to encourage the Lodging Association, our hotels, the chamber, everyone get together and work together and figure it out. We need each other in this community all the way around. Right now, I know the hotels are full, but there'll come a day, and I remember a day that hotels weren't always full. So just remember that you need each other. We are a tight community. And if this happens to be the avenue that you so choose, Mr. Chaffin, it would be April of 2023 before we would be able to entertain this, correct?
Yes, that would be March 17th of 2023, or 16th, I believe. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you. And with that, we will move to agenda item 11, which is the Wastewater Treatment Facility, Effluent Discharge, Outfall, Diffuser Project, CEQA Adoption. That is a mouthful. Philip Marler, our Deputy Public Works Director of Utilities.
I think I got this one.
Oh, you got this one. They crossed it out.
He's up here soon.
Okay, Mr. Moody.
Okay, so you know, this is one of our big projects going on in the Public Works Department. And with that, it was highlighted in a recent presentation with the state this last Friday.
Spencer, could you get the door for us? Okay, thank you, Mr. Moody. Continue, please.
Okay, so this is a big project for Public Works and for the city. What this has to do with it's the environmental document, basically approving the environmental document for the city's wastewater diffuser project. And so as this was highlighted with the state in the presentation last week with the council, I'll do a quick overview of it. And so the next slides kind of dive off into it. But what we have is up here, we have the wastewater treatment plant, and then we have a current pipe that's called the diffuser that goes out into the Shanghai Bend, the old rapids. And so then we have an option for the diffuser, which went into the rapids area, and then we had an option that goes underneath the river and it goes into the ponds. And so with some scour and some storm events, it changed the river, and so that's left this pipe high and dry out of the water. And then with this pipe, there's permit requirements as to the amount of water flow that's before you release the effluent out of the pipe. there's requirements about how much water need to be over the pipe, and so how it mixed into to get the appropriate mixing into that. And so right now we're working with the state and worked out some emergency in lieu measures, you know, that allowed us to discharge back and forth between the ponds while it's dry. But that's really a short-term program, a short-term option as we've worked to find a new location for the diffuser. And so in 2011, the Feather River scoured the deep channel. Then we had the 2017 Orville Dam emergency. Go through this here. We have limited capacity, required routine monitoring and maintenance because of where it's at. It's vulnerable to damage during times of high water. And so what we've done is since many years back with the change, we've decided, hey, we need to move forward either regulatory, both because of to meet our regulatory requirements and to have a long-term diffuser option for the city. We've moved forward with the design and the permitting for this project. And so where we're at is that we're 90% through the design, and we've initiated the permitting applications. And so in order to start applying for grant opportunities and to move farther into the design phase and finalize the project, we need to approve the CEQA document. And so with that, Yuba City is the lead agency. We've contracted with CH2M Hill to be to take that scope of work on with us in conjunction with the city, and we've processed an initial study, mitigated neg deck. And so it went to the state clearinghouse in January, and it was circulated for the mandatory time plus some. And with that, there was some, just to let you know, there was some dialogue with the tribes. So when we do the circulation and the notice for that, it gives this period where you have to notice the tribes and then have negotiations with them that they're being heard and that we're addressing some of their concerns. And so with that, we worked through some of the terms in there with the Native American tribal consultation, where we're trying to protect the city as much as possible, but also recognize their concerns, where with the recent levee project, improvement project with Sabufka, there's multiple historical locations that have been disturbed, and so we've put in place some mitigation measures where there's specific trainings and certain staff that need to be in place should certain things be found or in certain instances that we've put into this document. So mitigation measures addressing all comments and concerns are incorporated into the project and the final initial study, mitigating neg deck. The project will not, it's been determined that the project will not result in any significant impacts to the environment through the inclusion of appropriate avoidance minimization. So really the alternative, there's not much of an alternative. The alternative is to kick it back and change it. But really, if you want to move this project forward, it needs to have the CEQA document approved, so that way we can work into those final specifications, final design parameters to incorporate this, and then also look for those grant opportunities to find money for a project that's in the $35 to $40 million range. And so with that, our recommendation tonight is to adopt a resolution adopting the initial study, mitigated negative declaration for Yuba City Wastewater Treatment Facility Outfall Diffuser Project, Environmental Assessment 21-04, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Moody. Any questions from the council?
Through the mayor, I think that this is a really critical piece of the opportunity for future funding on the diffuser. As the tour that we went on Friday, and we'll talk probably a little bit more towards the end on this. So just for clarity of my own mind, when the bridge was built, some of the CEQA requirements are pretty identical within some of that work for the bridge, and where Native American tribal, there were mitigated areas that needed to be mitigated at that time. So is that the same process, and we went through that with this particular report and study to get to approve at this point?
Very similar. I would say with the levee project and a lot of the discoveries that were found, and then working with the tribes, that there was lessons learned for both the agency and for the tribes. And then also as we've been working with the tribe over the last 5-6 years, on how they like to handle, the situation once things may occur, that we're able to take on these mitigation measures and put the measures in place beforehand, so it doesn't affect the project where we're going to come to a halt, then figure it out later.
Exactly, because that's what tends to hold up sometimes the process of the approval for the permitting, because of those unresolved issues within, with rightly so, to be completely, considerate and responsible to do that as a community. But if we covered all these areas, then it seems an appropriate time to get ahead of the opportunity to possibly receive some funds. And I applaud, because this is a job that's been working, you Diana, team has been working on this for quite a while. So quite an investment for us as a city to invest on this front loading before even the construction of the diffuser or any other water items. So very impressed.
Any other comments from the council? None?
No.
Okay. Mr. Moody, thank you. While you went through a whole lot of stuff with the mitigation that we have to do, don't mean this as it was easy because you're coordinating a lot, but there's nowhere in this valley that we can't dig that we're not possibly disturbing the Native Americans. So I appreciate you jumping through all of those hoops, and you expressed on Friday all the different organizations you guys have had to deal with. So just want to express my appreciation. So with that, open it up for comments from the public. Any comments from the public? Any online?
No comments.
All right, then I will bring it back to the council for further questions or action.
Through the mayor, I move that we adopt, if there's no further conversation on this, respectfully with the rest of my colleagues, okay?
Go ahead.
Adopt a resolution adopting the initial study mitigated negative declaration for the Yuba City Wastewater Treatment Outfall Diffuser Project Environmental Assessment EA 21-04. I read it just in case you wanted it on record there, Mr. City Attorney.
I have a motion by Council Member Espandola. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Boomgarden. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you again, Mr. Moody. And now we'll go to agenda item 12, the Senate Bill 9, an accessory dwelling unit ordinance adoption and establishing fees for urban lot splits. Are you doing this one?
Okay, so this is the second part in the two-part process. I didn't catch it.
Oh, just wondering if who was presenting was correct on here, so go for it.
So the SB 9, one of my favorite subjects, and urban lots, ADUs. And so the item before you, we're trying to finalize amending the municipal code to address state law regarding SB 9 and ADUs. And so this is the second part where the item was previously introduced, and then tonight it's really for consider for adoption as proposed. And so one of the questions that came up last time, which was good, and it created some debate and some coordination back and forth with the fire department, is that we wanted to make sure that there's no conflicts with the fire code and how and what it looks like. And so we confirmed with the chief building official, we worked with the fire marshal, and then we reviewed both specs, both documents to make sure they were in a good spot. And so with this ordinance, proposed ordinance, the way there's basically a loophole for existing. So if you have a property, I wouldn't say it's a loophole, but it's what the law is that if you have an existing residential property that's not sprinklered and you build an ADU or a junior ADU, it does not have to be sprinklered. It still needs to meet all of the current building code standards regarding health, safety, noise insulation, standards applicable at the time the building permit is pulled. But regarding the fire sprinklers, they do not have to have them if the existing residence does not. However, if you do an urban lot split, so if somebody came in and put a split, split the back 40% off and wanted to build a new home, then they would be required to follow current code, which would then require fire sprinklers for the new unit. And so that is where you would see, if with this new unit, it would be most likely utilizing the reduced setbacks. You would get fire sprinklers in that location. But if they build an ADU back here with an existing home that doesn't have sprinklers, they would not. And so we went through it. There's definitely still applicable fire codes regarding they need a water supply, and that there's some access requirements in the fire code that make sure that they would be looked at, depending on what's proposed as far as with can it be accessed within 150 feet and can be accessed at a certain width. So that is really the big item that I wanted to provide additional information from our last meeting, and I'm happy to go into detail any of the specifics that were talked about last time. And so with that, I'm recommending you conduct a public hearing for consideration of establishing, here's a big one. I forgot about the fee. So back up here. And so with this, last time we talked specifically about the ADU and the SB9 municipal code, but I wanted to talk about how we're paying for it. And so what we're doing, I think I have a slide in here I passed. I can't find it at the moment. It was in the staff report, I think, briefly. But what we did is, how are we going to pay for this? It's a new process, you know, and so with that, we wanted to reflect some of staff's time and the cost for it. In the city's municipal code, there's a requirement to be recovered, 100% recoverable on those costs. And so when you look at it, you know, I did analyze the time that it takes to come in over the counter for the certain staff to process it, and then to look at it, and then similar processes that we have in place, which is real similar to the lot line adjustment, and it came in real close to what I would expect for an average of the time that would be spent to recover additional costs on an item. And so at this time, I recommend that we create a new fee on the fee schedule that is for urban lot splits, and it aligns with our current lot line adjustment cost. And so, gosh, I was hoping it was in here. I think it's in the staff report, it's in the $800 range. $877.
You had a slide up there you went by, did say it. One more.
Oh, there it is. So in order to establish the fee, we have to have a public hearing, have to have received comment on it, and then with recommendation to add it to the fee schedule with an inflator on it. And so that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions on that.
Any questions from the council?
Through the mayor, on the fire sprinkler, imagine that. I know the ordinance doesn't require it, but we could amend the ordinance.
You know, so there was discussion on that. Mm-hmm. And so through the discussion, it didn't come across from the fire department that there was an immediate need to address that with the new billing codes, with the new urban lot splits being required to have the water, the number that we're having. And then a little bit of the discussion we talked about was that it might get real complicated because it's a state law to match that. And so to overstate that, you'd probably have to look into finding, I didn't vet the entire process basically without the direction to move forward to do that. But it's possible is my understanding, but it might be complicated.
I know the process all too well. It would be complicated. However, the access issues to these ADUs and what's going to go on back there, I think places people at an increased risk. I'll follow up. And I mean, I'm not here to tell you to do anything at this point. It interests me that we're going to increase density and we're going to place units in the rear yards where it's going to be difficult to get back there, and time is of the essence, and a sprinkler system actually could save a life. So I'll follow up. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Moody, I share the same concerns. I was going to ask something very similar. With the state being so focused on trying to get housing density and affordable housing, it seems like that might put more of our residents at risk if something was to happen in a very close proximity with limited access. So I would be encouraged to see somewhere down the line how we can keep our public safe, because it's words I'm looking for is, you know, a lot of times the state and the national governments will cast a big net and they don't really realize what they catch with that big net. But I think it's a concern myself. So any other comments from the council before we open up the public hearing?
I would just reiterate, I don't want to speak on behalf of the fire department's behalf. You know, there was some discussion, there was some talk about what the state law is and can you supersede that? And then as the Councilman Boomgarden discussed, there is quite the process if the findings are determined. and then also what the current building codes are as far as if there's sufficient, we do have commercial and apartment complexes, depending on how they're built. Maybe there's other options that we could look at, and it's really at council's discretion. We could look at that and move forward.
All right, thank you. All right, with that, we will, the public hearing on Senate Bill 9, Accessory Dwelling Unit Ordinance Adoption and Establishing Fees for Urban Lot Splits is now open. If there are any members of the public who wish to address the council on this issue, please provide your statement via public comment. State your name and address for the record. Do we have any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Any comments online?
No comments.
Okay. Hearing no further comments on this issue, I am closing the public hearing and bringing this matter back to council. Questions or actions?
I'll make it through the mayor.
Yes, sir.
Still struggling with my voice. I'd like to introduce a motion to adopt a resolution establishing an urban lot split fee. Then item C, adopt an ordinance to update the Yuba City Municipal Code to establish regulations for urban lot splits and two-unit developments in accordance with Senate Bill 9, and adopt amendments to regulations of accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units by title only and waive the second reading.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Baumgarten and a second by Councilmember Espindola. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. We will now move to agenda item 13, and thank you, Mr. Moody. Police Services Analyst position in the Police Department and Rules and Regulations Amendment. And it says that Miss Springer is going to be here, but Chief, you don't look like Natalie. Thank you for being here.
No, Miss Springer will not be here this evening. She's been under the weather, so I will be tackling this solo tonight. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Tonight before you, we have a request from the police department to add a police services analyst position. Several years ago, there was a position.
Chief, could you check the mic or speak into the mic?
Now the mic is on.
There we go.
Sorry about that. Several years ago, the police department brought on a part-time employee to assist actually me at the time when I was our department's training manager as a lieutenant to assist with the kind of the travel agent end of things, of booking hotels, booking the classes, that type of thing. And we had some limited videos and things of that nature that needed to be copied and sent to the DA's office when cases were sent to them. Over time, our legislators down in Sacramento have created several new laws that have created a greater demand for the redaction of audio and video recordings, and our RIPA program. And also this position is somewhat morphed into gathering data for administrative investigations that we conduct within the police department, both of that are conducted by external sources as well as our internal folks as well. Some of those legislative mandates are SB 1421, that's the release of certain peace officer records as it pertains to misconduct. SB 2, which comes into effect next January, that's regarding the decertification of police officers. That law is very confusing as the Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training is still trying to figure out a true definition of what is serious misconduct. And so there's a lot of dangling questions out there as to what that's going to entail and what that's going to require of organizations. And AB 748 is the Audio and Video Disclosure Act, and that states that certain pieces of audio and video material need to be released within a 30-day time period of a specified list of actions made by police officers, including serious bodily injury of unarmed folks and a variety of things. Along with the legislative mandates, POST, that's who certifies police officers and certifies courses for police officers in the state of California. We used to have certain perishable skills such as firearms and tactical communication, arrest and control. Those courses would be updated sometimes every 2 to 5 years. Now with the changes in laws as relates to the use of force, which is with the implementation of de-escalation and trying to talk our way out of situations and gain compliance through communication rather than going hands-on with folks. So those things are required to be modified annually now by post. So this position that we're looking for will take over basically the day-to-day operations of being the department's training manager, and that role was currently being handled by Commander Eschman, and it's not a good use of police mid-manager's time to be doing these types of things. For reference, since January of 2020, this part-time employee in this position has received about $88,000 in reimbursement from post for trainings that we've sent our folks to. So that's a pretty substantial number. So the reason this is coming outside of the budget process, I was in talks with City Manager Vaughn when he was still here about this. Unfortunately, with the COVID outbreak that we had in January across the city, HR they were taxed, and they've been helping us out with this project, and so it kind of had to fall to the bottom of the pile a little bit. But what we're faced with now is our part-time person is their hours are going to run out before the end of the fiscal year due to the workload. They've had to work more, and we basically need the position. It's not something that is nice to have. It's something that we need as an organization to keep things going and processes moving within the organization. So this is the part that Ms. Springer was going to speak on, so I will try and muddle my way through this. So this is the rules and regulations amendment piece to this. For many years, the city has had qualified and well-trained employees that have maintained roles as temporary and or part-time employees. And for a long time, they haven't been able to apply for jobs that are either internal city recruitments or internal department recruitments because they didn't have a, quote, full-time status. And so what this rules and regulations amendment will do will allow those folks that have been in these positions for at least 1 year and that we've already invested time, money, and training into to be able to apply for internal recruitment jobs. And they have to be currently employed by the city for over a year. They have to still meet the minimum qualifications of the position. Nothing changes there. And they'll be able to apply for those internal and department recruitments as well. So the fiscal impact. Currently we have a vacant, unfilled community service officer position within the police department that we will not be filling for the rest of the fiscal 21-22 year or the 22-23 fiscal year. We will be eliminating a part-time position. So we have about $116,000 that's allocated in the budget already, and the pay for this position is, as you can see on the slide, $102,700. So there's no need for additional funding this particular year. I will note that in the staff report and then in the resolution, there's a discrepancy in the pay scale. The pay scale in the resolution is the correct one, not the one in the staff report for just clarification purposes. So the alternatives are to not approve the recommended position, do not approve the rules and regulations amendment, and provide city staff with direction. So it's the recommendation that we adopt a resolution to amend the rules and regulations providing for temporary extra help employees to apply for internal recruitments, amend the police department personnel summary, adding the classification of police services analyst, and a corresponding change to the publicly available salary schedule. With that, I'll take any questions that the council may have.
Chief. Chief, I do have one question, yes, just for clarification before I go to the council. Earlier you said Commander Eschman was doing a lot of these duties. With this, you would be shifting those off the commander to the person that would be full-time then, correct?
Yes, it's just one more thing that this person, the part-time position is filling part of those duties, but as far as the post and the management of the technical piece of it, that's what Commander Eschman's been doing because he's been the training manager for a couple of years. And so that'll be shifted to that person for him to focus on other efforts.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions from the council?
Through the mayor. Chief, I just wanted to, the post amount, the $88,000 change, a few dollars.
Yes, ma'am.
Was that a reimbursement from the post to the city? Is that what?
Yes.
To understand that?
Yes. So the post has varying kind of the Reader's Digest version, they have varying levels of reimbursement. So any skill that is required typically per legislative mandate or training, like firearms certification or for instructor courses for defensive tactics, tactical communication, specialized investigative courses for the folks in our investigations unit. Those are reimbursed at a very high level. The state gives us about call it $50 a day for per diem, and then about $120 a day for lodging. So basically what the city's out in some of those courses is the staff time to attend those courses. So getting that money back is a big thing for us as an organization.
Would you consider, as you know, because you've kind of offered different ways to fund this position with eliminating the CSO, would you utilize perhaps some of those funds, the reimbursement for post, to fund this position in the future, and then work towards getting another community service officer on the streets as well?
Yes, the way the reimbursement works is that the city expends the funds through a training account that's assigned to our patrol budget, and then that fund just gets reimbursed from post. So there's really, it's kind of a break-even thing. The city doesn't make the money; we just get reimbursed for what we spent.
What we spent out. So I'm just trying to find a way that maybe we could. I was hoping to find a way for both.
Wait, alternative D, just let us have it without giving up the CSO position.
Well, I mean, it takes all of us to figure that out, but I'm just looking at, you know, because you're thinking, well, the CSO won't be there, but this other position, because, you know, you have a high-level mid-manager doing this kind of work where it really needs to be placed with someone else's in their tasks, their functions, right? I see what you're trying to, and because of all the new requirements on top of that, I find value in both. That's what I'm saying to you. And if there's a way for you to consider in finding funding for that, I'd be happy to learn more about that.
Thank you.
Mm.
Any other questions from the council?
Just a comment. Is there a way that we can find funding for that? That's what I would like to do. And instead of putting it on the chief, if we have a way to add it to his budget, if you know, think outside the box a little bit, or I don't know if it's time sensitive or not, but I would be willing to look into that as well.
I'd be happy to be part of that conversation with you to find the funding for both.
And actually, to answer both your questions, we are in budget season, and we have a budget ad hoc committee. So that's where that belongs, so they can look at that as they're walking through that, because all the departments will be bringing forward as part of the budget process with the ad hoc what their future needs are. So I think that we can send that message very loudly to our ad hoc, which is on my right and left, to do what you can do. I know 3 of us have sat in those seats over the past 3 years, and we know that there's a lot of things that go on, but if they can find that and make it happen, I think all of us would love to do that, but we're going to send 2 of our team members to try to see what you guys can come up with.
Well, I just want to reiterate that I think both are extremely valuable. I mean, one is a necessity because, you know, we have outside requirements to meet legality issues, and you're trying to best utilize your team and the function of their work, right? And so I would think it would be a tremendous loss not to have a community service officer filled. You know, Vice Mayor Krishner, Councilman Boomgarden, I hope that you can find funding for both and make that recommendation to us when we review those budgets.
All right. Any other comments from the council? Questions? All right, let's go to the public. Any questions or comments from the public? Questions or comments from the public? Online?
No comments.
All right, then I will bring it back to the council for action.
Through the mayor.
Vice Mayor.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing to amend the rules and regulations providing for temporary extra help employees to have the ability to apply for internal recruitment, and to amend the police department personnel summary, adding the classification of police service analyst and make a corresponding change to the publicly available salary schedule.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Through the mayor?
Yes, sir.
Before we, do we need to note the change in the salary to reflect that which was in the resolution versus the staff report?
We should be fine because it's in the resolution which is being adopted.
Okay. I have a first from the vice mayor and a second from Councilmember Harris. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
We'll move to agenda item 14, the Water Treatment Plant Operator 3 limited term position. Okay, now we're changing. So, yeah, Philip Marler, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm Philip Marler, Deputy Public Works Director, Utilities. An item before you is the Water Treatment Plant Operator 3 limited term position. Our plant requires operators to hold a Water Treatment 3 certificate at a minimum to go onto a shift. We've had difficulty recruiting Operator 3s and have underfilled vacant positions with Operator 2s in the past. Our upcoming issue is that 3 long-term operators are eligible for retirement. The proposed solution is to overstaff the water treatment plant with a limited term position to avoid staffing issues. The position the position proposed to be budgeted for 3 years and initially be underfilled by the Operator 2. The 3-year time limit allows enough time to obtain the minimum qualifications for an Operator 3 and to work on capturing some institutional knowledge. The Public Employees Union Local 1 has requested through a side letter that, to represent the limited term position and that the incumbent be appointed to a vacancy during their term. I also wanted to make note as well too that it took 4 different groups to come together to organize and make this this position so we can be proactive and not reactive in the future. Also, we have a certification list for an Operator 2-3 position that's still good until January 3, which is with the urgency of the operators and the expiration of that is why we're not going through the budget process. The fiscal impact would go to account 7120 water treatment plant with an estimated total cost of $324,500. We're requesting supplemental appropriation of $40,000 for fiscal year 21-22. And as I said before, it's budgeted as an Operator Treatment Plant 3 position, but it will be underfilled with an Operator 2 until they meet minimum qualifications. The recommendation, A, is to adopt the resolution approving 1 limited term Water Treatment Plant Operator 3 limited term position in the Public Works Department for a period not to exceed 3 years and authorize the Finance Director to make budget adjustments as necessary in approving a side letter with the Public Employees Local 1 regarding the representation of the Water Treatment Plant Operator 3 limited term position. B, also to authorize a supplemental appropriation and related transfers in the amount of $40,000 from the unallocated water funds to account number 7120, the Water Treatment Plant operating budget for fiscal year 21-22. Salary and benefits for the Water Treatment Plant Operator 3 limited term position. At this time, I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions or comments from the council?
Through the mayor, I just want to say to Phil, this is your first time here with us, man, and you're doing good.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing really well. I think it's great that you sat down with all 4 different parties to try to come up with some solution, because this is really a challenge across the state and really across the nation to find really good operators, right? And if we can, you know, grow within, as we were just talking about policing, would be just a phenomenal thing to do. And if we have an agreement with the, you know, Public Employees Local 1 aside, that's awesome, right? You've kind of knocked some barriers for us to have to. It's really hard to say no to this because you've done all the really good work. And water treatment, it's coming out of the funding of the fees within the water treatment plant. So you've done a really good job of putting this together, so I really appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Okay. The only comment that I would add, Philip, is just for the general public, that the 40,000 you're asking for is not coming from the general fund. It's from our water money already. So it's not taking away from anything else. So with that, I will open it up for questions and comments from the public.
Just a quick question, Phil. So are you going to be able to like hire retirees to that have left us that are threes or come back and backfill us till we get somebody certified to be a 3?
This position currently is internally. That's why I said we had the existing certification list.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? As a reminder, Mr. Cardozo, we know who you are, but please always state your name. Thank you. Any other comments online?
No comments.
All right, hearing none, I will bring it back to the council for action.
Through the mayor.
Yes, sir.
Move to adopt resolution approving 1 limited term water treatment plant operator 3 limited term position in the Public Works Department for a period not to exceed 3 years, and approving a side letter with Public Employees Local 1 regarding the representation of the water treatment plant operator 3 limited term employee, and authorize a supplemental appropriation related transfers in the amount of $40,000 from unallocated water funds to account number 7120 Water Treatment Plant Operating Budget for fiscal year 21-22 salary and benefits for the Water Treatment Plant Operator 3 limited term position.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Councilmember Espandola. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, John.
All right, we'll move to agenda item 15. I'm just looking to see who I have at the podium. So, electrical instrumentation supervisor salary schedule. Mr. Moody, you have the floor again, please.
Okay, so good evening. New item here. And so this item really is logistical. And so it was the setup in the budget was set with the adoption of the fiscal year 21-22 budget. And so what I'm doing, what's coming before you is really logistical measures in order to establish the salary schedule and then be able to move forward with the recruitment. And so with that, a brief overview, the electrical instrumentation division, it was set up currently in the budget. There's 2 electrical technicians, 1 instrumentation technician, and then 1 extra part-time help electrical technician. So these guys are really our rock stars behind the scenes. They're keeping 2 plants, 2 serious heavy-duty industrial plants at the water treatment plant, the wastewater plant, and then also everything you see on the road, from street lights to the traffic signals, and then everything in between with facilities. And so these guys are running around making things happen. And then with the instrument technician position, they're doing a lot of the SCADA, the programming, and everything to keep that water and sewer, those pumps, and the remote access coordinated and operated. And so there's a lot going on there with a lot of highly specialized skills. And so through that budget, we set up the need for an electrical supervisor, somebody that's really technical, specific, and then could coordinate those functions. And so through that budget, we established it. So since that time, we've looked into the comparables, looked at what the city's trying to set the bar of 15% for a first level manager above the first line electricians. And so with that, we've come to a value that we think is within that median range of the region, and then also matches our set 15% above the electrical technician. So we're not right at median. That's really point in time that's going to be updated with some other citywide measures in the future potentially. But with where we're at now, we're recommending to set the salary schedule at 15% of electrical above the electrical technician 3 position. And so, and then with that, there's a required side letter with the first level managers because this is a new position and they're going to be entering into that group and it establishes that they're part of that group. And then there's also some language in there cleaning up some other items. So we decided to tackle them at the same time. So fiscal impact, $149,800 annually. So that's worst case. I think they look at that cost fully burdened at the top step. And so depending on who comes in and how it works out, that number fluctuates a little bit. Really the breakout is important. They're looking at how it's broke out between the water fund, the wastewater fund, and the general fund. And so it's key because a lot of the workload really comes from wastewater and water. And so the 10% is what you'll see as kind of as an estimate. That's the impact to the general fund on the general facilities in the city. So this is the good news, even though it is an impact, it is $1,200 less than the budget amount. And so there's not an increase in the budgeted amount for that. So with that, I'm recommending A and B, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Moody. Any questions from the council? All right, hearing none. Any questions or comments from the public? Any questions or comments from the public? Any online?
No comments.
Bring it back to the council for action.
Through the mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution authorizing the finance director to amend the salary to reflect the addition of the electrical instrumentation supervisor position with the Public Works Department and approving a side letter with the first level managers group and authorize the finance director to make a budget adjustment as necessary.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Espandola and a second from the Vice Mayor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Going to agenda item 16, building inspection compensation adjustments. Mr. Moody, you're still on point.
So thank you for the patience with me, and so as I work through these tonight, so this item, it's an important item for me, and I'll get into it here in a minute because it's really trying to set the stage for retirements and prepping for growth that we see coming on the horizon, and then working for recruitments and setting that bar. And so with this item, I'm looking at the building inspector pay. And so I have two building inspectors. One was relatively new. He has just over a year of experience in working on his credentials as a building inspector 1. And I have a building inspector 2 that is a long-term employee between part-time time and then the recently 6 years of time. And then also he has a background in different agencies. And so he's given me his notice of retirement effective late summer. And then with that, there's some time that he's going to take some vacations that he's always planned, in the mix and kind of working through some things. And so September is approaching soon. And so, 6 months away to have a long-term employee that's qualified to look at that commercial work, existing knowledge on the city and how that works, that's their institutional knowledge, that the concerns are going to be lost. And so, and then you add in 300 to 400 houses that are about ready to pop this summer. The desire to overfill for as much time as possible, because when we go through the recruitment process, it's very difficult to recruit for these individuals right now because of the demand in the industry and from other departments. And so recognizing that there's going to be a long recruitment process and then an onboarding process, and trying to get as much time as possible to work with our building inspector to gain some of that institutional knowledge before he goes. And so looking at the salaries, it's really, I'm bringing this now instead of through the budget process, because I do not think we'll have a viable recruitment unless we work to adjust the salary now and then release the recruitment. And so if the recruitment process, we need to wait through the summer, that's definitely an option, and the city can do that and backfill with consultants. But with that, I'll make a recommendation here. So compensation. to be blunt, it's really, when you get in the weeds, it gets tricky because we have point in time studies from 2021 that showed different numbers, and you're looking at different setups across agencies where it's, with the city, we have a 1-2 model, where other agencies have a 1-2-3 model, or they have a 1-2 senior model. And so we're really looking at the qualifications and how those reflect at the top step of our inspector that has specialized commercial certifications and specific residential certifications, and then the experience and how those went across the agencies. And then in addition, 2021, it seems like a lifetime ago, with inflation and with the building industry, what other agencies are having to do, with Yuba County having to do incentives and different pay raises in order to attract people to this area. And so where I landed, and then additionally, we did really just a spot and time check where we looked at, so we had the 2021 full compensation survey that showed us under, and then we did a spot check just regionally to kind of say, hey, is that real, or how does that look if you just look at the base salary? And so really through both of those, it really led us to a number that 20% is where we're at, just to bring it up close to the median. And so it's a big number, it's a big jump, but I think it's warranted in order to get to a level that you're competing for this industry that's in demand. And so what that does is it also sets up, it creates, so what we're recommending is based off the Building Inspector 2, a 20% jump, and then it works down through the steps where there's a 15% gap between the 1 and 2. And that's to reflect the experience and the certifications to get to that 2 level. And so that's an impact. And so $28,000 a year, it might not be immediate because depending on how that person, there will be immediate costs with the Building Inspector 1 jumping up, and then who we recruit and how we recruit, at what level they come in. But that's really the worst case, and then going forward with inflation as to how it is. So with that, I'm happy to introduce any questions. Please ask me any questions on it.
Thank you, Mr. Moody. I think you were about ready to introduce a motion there, weren't you?
I got too many, yeah.
All right, any questions from the council? All right, hearing none. Any questions from the public? Comments from the public? Any online?
No comments.
All right, then I'll bring it back to the council for action.
Through the mayor.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the finance director to amend the salary schedule to reflect compensation adjustments to the building inspector classifications within the department services department, and also to authorize the finance director to make budget adjustments as necessary.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second by Councilmember Harris. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Mr. Moody, thank you for your long duration at the podium tonight. So, all right, let's move on to agenda item 17. Future agenda items. This is the opportunity for us to discuss with the city manager about items that came up tonight that we want to see brought back at a future meeting. Is there any from the council tonight? Okay.
Never mind. I don't think it's for us.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Then we'll move on to item 18, our city manager's report.
Yes, Mayor, as you stated earlier, we are in budget time. The capital improvement program requests were due today, and the operational budget requests are due next week. Mid-April, we will be meeting with the ad hoc committee to go over the budget requests. And one thing I just want to reiterate, we've mentioned it before, if there are different organizations that are going to be requesting funds from the city, they need to get the applications in as soon as possible so that they can be considered as part of the budget process. The other thing to report is last week, LAFCO approved an annexation for an area located south of Bogue Road, north of Stewart, west of Gilsizer, east of Walton. And it's a very exciting time for Yuba City as we continue to have these annexations that are approved. But as the city attorney and I were talking this afternoon, what this triggers is we will need to modify the district maps. So we just finished that process, but we will be bringing back to council as to these newly annexed areas, how they get added to the districting maps. So I see looks of surprises on your face, but that's the exciting part of annexations, right? It's ever changing. The other thing is at the upcoming meeting in April, the first meeting, the Feather River West Levee Financing Authority will be doing a presentation on their proposed assessment for the levee maintenance. So I encourage folks to watch that if they can't be here personally. And then a couple of other things. We have the homeless workshop scheduled for March 29th, and there will be no council meeting on May 3rd as 3 of the council members are participating in Cap to Cap. So thank you.
Thank you. I just have kind of a sarcastic question about districting, because the land you're talking is mostly orchards. So do squirrels and rabbits count in the redistricting process, or?
Only if they're registered to vote.
Right.
Gotcha. But this isn't Chicago.
Yeah. Well, what's important is there are some homes in those areas, and as we have proposed subdivisions, it's going to be important for those folks to know which district that they will be moving into. One other note is that George Barlow is working on a utility flyer related to districting, which will be an insert to the utility bill as well as posted on the website and distributed through social media. And it's a lot of frequently asked questions, and then also specifics to the 2022 election. As I mentioned at the previous council meeting, there are 2 districts that will not have elections for city council as part of this election. And so we want to get information out there because we expect to have a lot of questions about what's happening.
All righty, thank you. All right, let's move to council reports. We'll start with Councilmember Harris.
Real quick and easy for me, the last 2 weeks, as far as boards and commissions go, Gilsizer happened to be canceled. And then for Sabufka, primary thing was the authorization for staff to proceed in seeking grant funding for the Lower Feather River West Levee Repair Project, which is the section between Highway 99 and the Sutter Bypass. That was the main thing that we approved. Of course, we're going to talk about the tour with DBWR and the wonderful lunch we had with them in Aqua and others down at Montana Farms. I'm not going to steal Councilwoman Espinola's thunder on that, nor will I steal any further thunder from our chair of Sabufka, who is our vice mayor. So that was pretty much it. In addition to other meetings, I know we had a good meeting with George and our city manager regarding social media and whatnot, and I think it was quite productive and looking forward to some things there. That's it for me.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Boomgarden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, again, Diana, congratulations on the Athena Award. I know that you're not one that seeks these things out, but these things seek you. And, you know, well-deserved, and very happy and that you got it. Very proud to work with you. So enough said on that. LAFCO, as the city manager mentioned, about 135 acres came into the city uncontested, which is nice. Those kinds of LAFCO annexations are always pleasant. Also at that LAFCO meeting was the introduction of the Municipal Services Review for Fire. And I'll be honest and blunt, this is probably one of the most challenging things that I've been involved in as far as reports coming from consultants on service reviews for LAFCO. I was appointed along with Supervisor Conant and our vice chair from LAFCO, Rupinder Jawanda, to sit on an ad hoc committee to try to coordinate a little bit more about what this municipal services review and the sphere of influence pieces that are going with that. So more to come. It is an important study as it relates, as I've mentioned to you before, the interrelation between the fire service providers in the county and the city of Yuba City. RHA, Regional Housing Authority, real quick meeting that day. We did hear about the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. I know Councilman Harris is familiar with that as well, and others may be as well. This is a neat program that the Housing Authority facilitates, takes individuals and sort of takes them from not really having housing and being self-sufficient to self-sufficiency. And my first meeting, we awarded a person that, and there are something like 100 people in this program, which is an excellent conduit for folks who are struggling to live in a house. This gets them a leg up on that, which I think is great. Buckeye Parade, congratulations to Marysville. Had a good time, no casualties, no one fell out of the truck, no one fell off the scooter. We had a good time, and really that's it. I will say that I went to the Government Affairs Committee along with you, Mr. Mayor, and our city manager. This West Feather River, they called it FWFLA or something anyway, more acronyms. This is an important thing, and I really do second city manager's advice. You need to pay attention to this one. This is not to construct levees. This is to take the levees that we have constructed and maintain them so that we don't lose that 200-year flood protection. So there is a lot of information that I think will be valuable to pay attention to as this comes forward. Thank you.
All right, Councilwoman Espindola.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Boomgarden, for all that update on the GAC and all, and also with the Housing Authority. It's quite gratifying to see families move from conditions that are really difficult into housing and the support. So I'm glad that both of you, Councilmember Harris, are on that work together. As Councilman Harris said, Gil Zeiser was I can't even say it. Didn't happen. I'll say it that way. Then Regional Water Authority, we had a meeting. Diana and I joined in. It was quite a long conversation, but I think the highlight points, as many of you now know, Jim Pfeiffer, which is the executive director, the drought conditions are quite deep in discussion, and how the region, Sacramento Valley, our area, is fortunate to be in better conditions, but yet other parts of our state are really in dire situations. And so that, I think I'll highlight that piece mostly. And then our city of Yuba City, as many of you know, I'm a big fan of women in lots of ways, and with our city manager being recognized again, it's just such an honor to work with you and to be part of that celebration. We hosted a brunch for our women in Yuba City, and it was just beautiful. It was uniting. It was supportive. It was the energy was just great, and I appreciate the fact that we've all taken this on together and really just highlighting the talents within our women, and then also how much I feel support from many men and mentors along the way. So thank you so much for that work. We had an opportunity to tour with the State Water Resource Control Board, which was quite a journey to put together in the last several months. And we did the tour on last Friday, believe it or not. And we had the chair, Joaquin Esqual, I can never say his last name, sorry. And then the vice chair, Didi Diamo, join us with our city staff, with the mayor, with the entire council, with our Public Works Utilities team. We did it within, I'll clarify, Brown Act rules, so let's just get that one out of the way. And what we did is we toured the facilities. We went to the water treatment, and Phil's team, fantastic, amazing team, showed us around. We looked at the aquifer storage recovery area, where we're hoping to receive like a $6.5 million grant that we've already submitted to DWR, which is a great opportunity, which I'm fingers crossed, I believe we'll get there. And then from there, we ended up seeing a video of both places, and then ended up going to having a presentation by Kevin, Bradford, who is also our other deputy, two of our high mid-level managers who participated with their teams, and we ended up touring the diffuser that was discussed earlier to see the conditions and how challenging those are, and which personally for me, it was quite a growth of learning on how that diffuser impacts our community in many ways, and then kind of summarized it all with the rest of our group and Matna Farms, and how the city and urban area connects to agriculture, and then from agriculture, what is the recycling water conservation work that they do there. And all of that I think, will benefit fruitful for our city in many ways. One is that Aqua was there with the Association of California Water Agency, and they're going to feature us in a lot of the statewide presentations on the work that we're doing here as a city. And with the Regional Water Authority, they are also helping bring the word and forward to DWR. And we are also working with Senator Nielsen in helping gain some potential funding as well within the ASR to get there for our needs and infrastructure. So it was a day of complete gratitude for me and tremendous pride to know that we have such good people that work in our water and wastewater, and how committed everyone was. And I cannot say that without the council support, gentlemen, I thank you so much for being present. Thankful, just present and really just showing up and supporting these large projects that will help our city for hopefully the next 10 to 15 to 20 years. Some of the things that were kind of more the fun side as well, I thought the tour was the funnest for me for lots of reasons, because I'm a geek that wants to think I'm a geek, but I'm not that nerdy. I'm just like the idea I am. But the Buckeye Parade, we went to the hostess reception dinner, not a dinner, it was a reception. It was really great to be together in Marysville, and Marysville always does such a fantastic job. And the parade, Mark had his scooter, and our mayor had the truck, and the gentlemen were in the back, and I was just kind of walking in the front with our youth commissioners, I'll just leave it there. And but it was great. It was great to be together and hand out some flags and some candies, just handing them. The other part was going to the lip sync for Shady Creek Foundation, supporting a program that is, touches so many young children's lives, and being part of that was really important. But I just want to state that I see the commitment and pride and loyalty from our staff and our council, and I'm thankful for all the work that we do together. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As which was discussed earlier, we attended Sabufka this past month, and DWR has committed to $4 million towards the design and permit engineering of the area in South Sutter County at question, with Sabufka looking for revenue sources for the balance of that. We're still waiting to hear from Senator Nielsen and Assemblyman Gallagher on the possibility of getting $10 million to clean up the balance of the channel at the mouth of the Yuba River. Mosquito vector is hit with issues from COVID, in this case being a shortage of supply of insecticide from their supply chain in China. What this looks like is they're scrambling to have enough material to get them through August. And so we voted for and approved an additional $100,000 towards that. Initially, they were budgeted for $970, but unfortunately, with the lack of inventory, the price goes up, and so they're looking at how to address that. In addition to that, they're looking at repaving their facility out on Bogue Road. But like I said earlier, the price of everything has gone up recently, and so we voted for and approved $284,000 towards that end. In Bi-County Homeless GPA, I attended a Zoom meeting on that, and a lot of exciting things happening with them. In the Cedar Lane area, which I believe is in Linda or Olivehurst, one of the two, they're looking at opening up a 108-unit facility for low income. These are 1 and 2, 3-bedroom apartments. A total of 108 that will be online in July. Also in July, in the same neighborhood, there'll be 41 permitted homes. So a lot of exciting. In addition to that, also at Marysville, in January 2023, they're looking at 71-unit apartments, 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments in the East Lake apartment complex. So a lot of exciting things happening by County Homeless. And then lastly, did I miss something? No? Lastly, the mayor and I attended the Intergovernmental Relations Committee, which I'll touch on briefly because I know he wants to talk about it. Lots of exciting things going on with that. We're looking at the real possibility of a temporary and then more of a permanent overnight parking for homeless to address that issue. A lot of things that were touched on, like the Fremont facility and the possibility of facilitating that. But again, I'll let the mayor go more into detail with that. Lastly, this evening I attended a promotion at the police department for Caitlin Snyder, who was promoted from dispatcher 2 to dispatcher 3. Did I get that right?
Yes.
And it's nice to see talent get recognized in our city. And that's what I've got.
Thank you. Amazingly, it's been a busy couple of weeks for me. We've crammed a lot of things in over the last couple of weeks. So I'll start with the things that's been going on, the IRC, as I call it. And it's not because it irks me, but sometimes it does. But the IRC, that's the Intergovernmental Relations. As the Vice Mayor said, we focus on the things that ourselves and the county is mutually facing. One of the problems that we have, which will be hopefully coming towards council in the weeks ahead, is, as the Vice Mayor said, a temporary facility to be able to move the motorhomes and stuff at night off the streets and off the parking lot. So I have a dedicated space. LE has needed that for quite some time. We're working on the finishing touches of that, and the initial is looking at being a it's temporary, but it's basically a trial run to put this thing together because we need to see exactly how many people this affects to give us an assessment of where we're going forward before we come back before the council with numbers that are hundreds of thousands of dollars to stand up a facility that maybe 3 people is going to use. So stay tuned for more information. I think there's going to be more than 3 people to use it, but we've got to get to that. But it's becoming very productive between us and the county, and I'm looking forward to that. To Councilmember Boomgarden, your comments with what was going on with LAFCO, the municipal's review. We continue to take that forward with the county because it's a delicate balance. And my comments to them were very simply put, it's not an if, it's going to be a when, because it's a delicate balance with mutual aid, and it concerns, I know all of us on this dais, that Sutter County Fire is understaffed. They're working on it. They're going to try to figure it out. It's not our it's not our job to solve the problem for them, but it's our job to make them aware of how it will impact us. And it's a delicate balance to where we may be helping Marysville, or we may have our own issues here, and they call for mutual aid, whether it be fire or whether it be police services as well. And it's not going to be we're not coming, we can't. We're already stressed because we've seen the effects of things. So know that that is at the forefront. And we continue to bring that up so that they know that this is something that's definitely not going to go away. And I know that they are working on it. The other thing we talked about as well, homelessness, the upcoming workshop on the 29th. Some of them may be in attendance, but they might be here to listen only. The 29th workshop is for city. This is not the workshop for our third-party partners like the consortium and things of that nature. This is for us as a city. It's not even for the county at that point. We need to take a real good look at how we're interacting as a city, at what levels and what services are needed. So while it's an open meeting, anybody can come. The comments and the discussion really needs to be amongst the city and the city personnel. They'll have their day at the other workshops as we begin to grow that circle out. But that will be coming up on the 29th. Then Councilwoman Espandola, thank you for putting the tour together. That was great. And Joaquin, it was, as soon as I saw him, I was like, I know you. And turns out we worked together years ago when he was in DC. So that was a neat connection there. To Al Matna Farms, Ducks Unlimited, thank you for hosting us. Such gracious hosts to bring us together for a lunch and to give us the opportunity to show our region and our city's best foot forward. And that brings me back to the real rock stars of the day, and that is Miss Langley and your team, Ben, everybody from the city. You guys, you were impressive, and I will just leave it at that. You know, it was, thanks for having the mayor along for the day, but it was nice to watch you guys in action. You guys, I will put you up against any other municipality around here. You know your stuff, you're a great team, and we should be proud of each and every one of you. You guys are rock stars. So, you know, the bad part is it may be a year or so for the funding comes through, but the seeds have been planted, and now we just need to continue to water them and move forward. So thank you guys. You guys are incredible. To Ms. Young, the Buckeye hostess, it was an honor to be there and present on behalf of the city the gift. And great parade, great reception. Ms. Langley, congratulations again. I'll just leave it at that. I know you don't like it, but you well deserved. And very happy that you were awarded that. Coming up, I do have transit later this week, and then there will be a special meeting for RWMA the following week, and the vice mayor will be filling in for me. And I believe that just about covers everything. Is there anything else from the council tonight before I adjourn? Okay. With that, at 8:21, I will adjourn this meeting.